All right, so if you're anywhere near the world of financial technology, listen up. India's GIFT City has just completely torn up the old rulebook and written a new one. We're going to break down what this huge regulatory shift means, because it's all about making it way easier for businesses to operate in this massive global financial hub. And believe it or not, this whole new playbook, it all kicks off with one single document. And yeah, here it is, this circular, dated July 31st, 2025. It might just look like some standard government paperwork, right? But no, this was the starting gun for a massive, massive transition. It was basically a signal that the old, tangled mess of regulations was over. It created one single, super streamlined path forward for every single tech and support company in the International Financial Services Center. So you might be asking, what problem did this whole new playbook actually fix? Well, before this, companies were stuck in this complex maze. You had separate, often overlapping rules for all these different services. It was confusing. The new 2025 regulations, they just swept all of that away and replaced it with a single, unified framework. The goal was super simple. Get rid of the confusion and create one front door for everybody. Okay, let's talk about the solution itself. Now, it has a very long official name, the International Financial Services Centers Authority, TechFin and Ancillary Services Regulations 2025. It's a mouthful, right? So we're just going to call it the TAS regulations. This is now the one and only rulebook, and it's all about bringing clarity and simplicity to businesses in this space. But what does TechFin and Ancillary Services actually mean? The definition in the regulations is pretty broad, which is great. Basically, if your company provides tech solutions or any kind of support service that helps a financial institution in the IFSC do its thing, you're in. Just think of it as the entire ecosystem that keeps the main financial players running smoothly. Okay, so let's get practical. This is the big question every business is asking, right? Does this actually apply to me? Well, the answer really depends on where you are in your journey with GIFT City. The transition plan is broken down into 3 super specific groups. First up, let's talk about new applicants. So if you're just starting your application to set up in GIFT City, things are really simple. You apply directly under these new TAS regulations. That's it. The old rules, they're gone. It's one clear path forward from day one. No confusion. Okay, but what if you had already applied? What if your application was already in the pipeline? Well, I've got good news. Any application that was pending under the old rules will automatically get processed under the new TAS regulations. And here's the really important part. You will not be charged any extra fees if you've already paid. It's a totally seamless switch. And finally, what about the businesses that are already up and running in GIFT City? You can keep operating for now, but, and this is a big but, you have to transition. You are required to get a new certificate of registration under the new rules, and there is a very firm deadline to get it done. So let's break down that timeline, because these dates are absolutely critical. The new regulations were officially announced on July 8th, 2025. Then that transition circular we saw earlier came out on July 31st. And from that first date, July 8th, existing companies have exactly 12 months, 1 year, to get their new registration. The clock is definitely ticking. All right, so how do you actually go about getting this new registration? The good news is the whole process has been standardized. It's way more transparent now. Let's walk through the exact steps you'll need to take to get certified under these new rules. It's a pretty straightforward 4-step journey. First, you're going to submit your application online using the single window IT portal. They call it the SWIT portal. Step 2, if everything checks out, you get what's called an in-principle approval. Then, from that day, the clock starts again. You have 180 days to meet whatever conditions they set out. And once you've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, you get your final certificate of registration. Done. Okay, this next part is maybe one of the most important things about this new framework. It's the clarity it brings to what you can and, just as importantly, what you cannot do. This is what really defines the scope of opportunity for any business thinking about moving into GIFT City. And let me tell you, the list of what's in is incredibly broad and really forward-thinking. We're not just talking about basic IT support here. The regulations specifically call out and welcome these cutting-edge fields like AI and machine learning, even space tech for finance. You've got reg tech, big data, cybersecurity. They've even included specialized stuff like fund administration. The message here is crystal clear. If you're innovating, the door is wide open. So, what's on the out list? The logic here is actually really straightforward. You can't do the core financial stuff that's already regulated by other rules, things like banking or insurance. That makes sense, right? These TS regulations are for the support ecosystem. Also, things that are completely non-financial, like facility management or logistics, are out. The focus is kept laser sharp on TechFin and the services that support it. Okay, having clear rules is great, but let's talk about the bottom line. What's the real advantage for your business? This is where we get into why this whole thing makes GIFT City such an incredibly powerful option. And trust me, the numbers here tell a very, very compelling story. All right, the headline benefit is just massive: a 10-year tax holiday. I mean, just think about that for a second. You get a 100% tax exemption on your profits for 10 full years. And you get to choose those 10 years anytime within your first 15 years of operation. For a startup, that is an absolute game changer. It's the difference between success and failure. And for an established company, it's a massive boost to your global competitiveness. And it doesn't stop there. On top of that, there is 0% goods and services tax, or GST. Now, this is not a small detail. This is a huge operational cost saving. It means you can either price your services more competitively on the world stage, or you can take those savings and pour them right back into growing your business. It gives you a real, tangible edge. And yep, the benefits just keep on coming. Even for companies that might have to pay the minimum alternate tax, or MAT, the rate is slashed all the way down to just 9%. When you stack that up against other global financial hubs, it's so clear that the entire tax structure here is designed to be as business-friendly as humanly possible. Okay, so of course there are some setup costs involved. Let's be real about that. Here's a quick, transparent look at the typical government fees. You're looking at a few one-time costs to get incorporated and registered, and then there's a recurring annual fee you pay to the authorities. But having these numbers right here, up front, means any business can model out their strategy with total confidence. So, let's pull this all together, shall we? We've seen how things have shifted from a complicated past to a much simpler, unified future. We've walked through the exact steps for registration, and we've looked at those incredible financial incentives. So really, the only question left on the table is, what does all of this mean for your business? Look, at the end of the day, this whole regulatory overhaul really does two things. First, it gets rid of all the confusion and ambiguity. And second, it makes an incredibly powerful financial case. For any company playing in the TechFin world, the rules are now simpler, the opportunities are clearer, and those tax benefits, well, they're pretty much undeniable. So the question you should be asking yourself is this: with this new playbook in your hands, is GIFT City your next big global move?